elections and offer recommendations to enhance citizen confidence in the process and mitigate violence. And 3, to demonstrate international support for Nigeria's democratization process. The second assessment delegation was comprised of Robert Benjamin, Senior Associate and Regional Director for Central and East Europe from the National Democratic Institute. He's based in Washington, D.C. Mr. Vemba Dizolele, Professorial Lecturer at Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. He is originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ms. Sarah Jegeto, Co-Chair of the Liberian National Elections Commission. She's from Liberia. Anna Jones, National Network Coordinator, WANEP, the Gambia. She's from the Gambia. And myself. The delegation met with a wide array of election stakeholders, including the Independent National Electoral Commission, political parties, and religious leaders, civil society representatives, security forces, academics, and representatives of the international community. In addition, the delegation traveled to Osun State to meet with electoral stakeholders ahead of the off-cycle gubernatorial election on September 22nd, 2018, and we visited several polling units in the cities of Oshogbo, Ilesa, Ede, and Ofetedo on voting day to witness the conduct of the election within the framework of preparations for the 2019 elections. Both IRI and NDI have deployed international election observation missions to all general elections in Nigeria since 1999, transition from military to civilian democratic rule. IRI and NDI are non-partisan, non-governmental organizations that support and strengthen democratic institutions and practices worldwide. The institutes have observed collectively more than 200 elections in more than 50 countries over the last 30 years. IRI and NDI will deploy a joint international delegation to observe the presidential, National Assembly, gubernatorial, and state assembly elections in Nigeria in 2019.
Will be an important step in the country's democracy. If successful, the elections would consolidate democratic gains achieved in the last 2 decades since the transition from military to civilian democratic rule. The elections are also expected to be closely competed among the major political parties. President Muhammadu Buhari is seeking re-election after historic elections in 2015, when the country experienced its first transition of presidential power from the People's Democratic Party, which had been in power since the transition from military to civilian democratic rule in 1999, to the All Progressives Congress. Numerous positive developments have occurred since the 2015 elections that enhanced today's electoral environment in Nigeria. Some of these developments were noted in IRI and NDI's first pre-election statement in July. INEC has improved the voting process, notably through the introduction of continuous voter registration, adoption of simultaneous accreditation and voting, improvements to the secrecy of the ballot, and advancement of the smart card reader technology. Young people are motivated to participate in politics and to hold their representatives accountable through such initiatives as the Not Too Young to Run campaign. Citizens are deeply committed to democracy. Afrobarometer's 2017 survey found that 72% of Nigerians agree that democratic elections are the best means of choosing their country's leaders. Despite the above improvements in the administrative and procedural aspects of the voting process, deficits in the political process could undermine or compromise the democratic character of the 2019 elections. Numerous interlocutors with whom the delegation met commented on the lack of equitable competition within political parties regarding candidate selection, and relatedly, a penchant among parties to induce voter support through means that run contrary to the spirit of democratic franchise. For many Nigerians, The pervasive role of money in the campaign process lies at the heart of these concerns. My colleague, Sarah Jagadatov, will...
To internal party democracy. The delegation recognizes that some political parties have experimented with direct primaries that empower members to select a candidate of their choice, while others rely on indirect measures for candidate selection. In reality, candidates contesting in party primaries are often imposed on members by political elites and so-called godfathers. Political parties lack comprehensive membership lists, which does not provide a foundation for a successful direct primary process. There is also a lack of open and advanced communication from national party leaders about the composition of delegate lists and the mode and date of voting. These circumstances can heighten intra-party tension and focus party attention inward at a time when the ability to communicate effectively with voters is paramount. 6. Women's participation in the electoral process. The delegation understands that there are barriers for women, youth, and persons with disabilities to be active participants in the electoral process, including but not limited to attempts to run for elected office. These barriers include the lack of access to party decision-making structures and financial obligations that are impossible to meet without the support of political party elites, to whom aspirants can become politically and/or personally beholden. Prevailing social structures and practices limit the ability of women to enter and advance in politics, and often discourages them from engaging in political life in the first place. Women politicians with whom the delegation met referenced numerous instances of discrimination, which led to their dissuasion from, and in some cases, loss of will to participate in politics. The failure to pass the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill last year in the National Assembly and of political parties to establish and implement voluntary electoral party gender quotas and missed opportunities for increasing women's political participation and enhancing the electoral environment in Nigeria. Finally, 7, incitement to violence and disinformation. The IRI NDI delegation observed with concern the use of inflammatory language by political parties, particularly through social media. Most of this rhetoric, which at times contains false or unverified information or hate speech, can manipulate public perception, heighten tensions, and fuel the possibility of election-related violence. Following the Osun election, the delegation observed on social media the circulation of false results, misleading photos and videos, and inciting statements by political parties, which contributed to heightened tension during and following the results announcement process. My colleague, Bemba,
stakeholders, many of the above-mentioned challenges can be addressed to enhance citizen confidence and participation in elections and mitigate violence during and after the polls. In the spirit of international cooperation, the delegation therefore offers the following recommendations to electoral stakeholders in Nigeria, which build upon and reinforce the recommendations of the first 3 election assessment mission. Recommendations for the federal government of Nigeria. Provide sufficient and timely funds so that INEC and other electoral bodies can fulfill their responsibility as prescribed by law. Ensure the timely passage of the amendment to the Electoral Act 2010. Ensure that security services maintain the highest level of professionalism and impartiality in facilitating the electoral process, refrain from actions that could be seen as motivated by partisan interests, enable accredited observers and journalists to perform their work, and protect the right of citizens to exercise their votes freely. Enforce laws against election malfeasance, including vote buying, and ensure equal and robust application through such measures as the establishment of the Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal. Respect and uphold press freedom and freedom of information laws in letter and in spirit. Recommendations for the Independent National Electoral Commission. Take concrete measures to combat vote buying through voter education campaigns, enforcement of laws against voter inducement, a nationwide ban on cell phones in the voting cubicle. Enhance as much as possible the physical space for voting to facilitate the processing of voters on election day. Prioritize training for polling officials on configuring polling units to enhance ballot secrecy while maintaining a transparent voting process. Decentralize the permanent voter card collections process from the local government level to the ward and community levels and intensify voter sensitization to increase PVC collection rates. Implement the person with disability framework, including operationalizing the Braille ballot guide and Form EC30PWD nationwide for election day, conducting voter education to increase the participation of people with disabilities in the voting process, and improving accessibility of polling units. Undertake measures to increase understanding of the vote collation process and ensure access of observers and party agent collation centers. Publish polling units level registration and results data on INEC's website in a machine-readable format.